Lillahi ta'ala, barakallahu fikum. Let's continue in Bahjat An-NaDHar. Questions and answers in the obligatory knowledge. And we have reached the 94th question. State the integrals of wudu. Okay, that's easy. You know, first of all, it's not a question. It's not a full question. That's a command. State. And that's easy. The intention. Washing the face. Washing the hands up to the elbows, including the elbows. Up to and including the elbows. Or with the elbows. Wiping the head. Washing the feet. Up to and including the ankles. And keeping the order. You knew that, insha'Allah ta'ala. If you didn't know that, subhanallah. I know there are people, they listen to lessons all the time, but it's like they don't know anything. Are you one of those? Don't be one of those. Yani, listen to the lesson all the time, yes. Even if you don't know anything, yes. But don't be someone who listens to the lesson and don't know anything. MashaAllah. May Allah help you. Let's see what the answer is here. It says the integrals of ablution are 6, and that's according to Ash-Shafi'i, of course. This number is not a consensus, nor are. Let's just leave it like that. This number is not a consensus. So the first one says to have the intention of purification for prayer in the heart, or any equivalent intention when the water first touches the face. Okay. Yes, that's a more detailed answer than what I said. I expected they're going to say that. So in my answer, I just said very summarized answer. Making the intention, washing the face, washing the hands, up to and including the elbows, wiping the head, washing the feet, keeping up to and including the ankles, and keeping the order. Now I'm sure they're going to say here in this answer more than what I just said in my answer. To have the intention of purification for prayer in the heart, not necessarily by the tongue, or any equivalent intention, an intention equivalent to the intention of purification. Here. I don't know why this one doesn't work. Equivalent to the intention of purification. What's equivalent to the intention of purification? Such as wudu. That's an equivalent intention. Just wudu in your heart. When the water touched your face, you said in your heart, wudu. That's valid. And it's not a condition to say obligatory wudu, even if the wudu is obligatory. To wash the entire face from the hairline where usually situated on most people, meaning the normal hairline, to the chin. And from the ear to the ear, not including the ear. Here, to does not mean including. To here only means up to. Okay, that's clear. If you have any question, feel free, please. And to wash the hands, I think it would be nice to number these. Though it's not a condition, any person can just count them if he wants, but if those were numbered, then the visual will be there. Your eye will immediately see the number, and then you won't have to count for yourself. To wash the hands and forearms up to and including, that's the Shafi'i school, up to and including the elbows. The elbow is the junction, the joint, of the forearm and the upper arm. Subhanallah. That's how Allah created us. We have these joints, and the joints that He gave us, they have limited range, limited angles. Like our fingers are not like octopus tentacles, and our arms, our limbs are not like the tentacles of octopus, can go all over and backwards and forwards, only can go certain degree. Four, to wet wipe the head or part of it. Also, if the numbers were here, then you can say them like I'm doing right now. Four, to wet wipe the head or part of it. Okay. Or part of it. Yes. Even one hair or even part of a hair on the head. To wash the feet, including the ankles. Okay. Yani up to and including. Ah. Okay. To observe the aforementioned order. If one does not fulfill the order, one's wudu is not valid according to Imam Ash-Shafi'i. His complete wudu is not valid. But it will be valid up to the point where he went out of order. Once he went out of order, everything out of order is invalid. Everything in order is valid. Meaning, you made the intention when you washed your face, then you washed your arms, then you washed your feet. So washing your feet is not valid, but washing your face is valid. Your intention is valid. Washing your face is valid. Washing your arms is valid. Washing your feet won't be valid because you did it out of order. Then you have to go back, wipe your head, and then wash your feet again. Here's some details for you. Number one, here, the intention is not an integral according to some scholars. The intention for wudu is not an integral by consensus. And number six, observing the order. Observing the order is not an integral by consensus. But these four, numbers 2 through 5, these four are in the Quran, so no one can disagree about them. Washing the hands and the forearms up to and including the ankle, the elbow, that's not a consensus. Some scholars said the elbow is sunnah, not obligatory. To wet wipe part of the head or part of the head, even part of a hair on the head, that's the Shafi'i school. Some scholars said more. There's different sayings, more than one saying, about how much more. To wash the feet, including the ankles is not a consensus. So you know that. What's not a consensus? The intention is not a consensus. And washing, including the elbows, is not a consensus. And part of the head is not a consensus. Because some said all of the head, and some said part of the head, but how much? They said more than what's here. Yani, more than Shafi'i. Some also said part of the head, but they said more than what a Shafi'i said. And some of them said all of the head. And including the ankles is not a consensus. And also, washing the feet is not a consensus. Indeed, some scholars said wiping the feet is sufficient, even without khufs. Some scholars said wiping the feet is sufficient. That was said about Ibn Abbas, radiallahu anhuma. And Keeping the order is not a consensus. Okay. If you have any question, feel free, please. I once made wudu according to Abu Hanifa out of order, just because I wanted to follow the Hanafi school that day, just to do it because I learned it. But I didn't feel comfortable doing it, and I never did it again. I don't think so.
Assalamu alaikum, Shaykh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Said that one go out of order, and you say that the feet, you go down the feet, and you move back. The feet is anything else is done. The feet is incorrect. So when the only thing he had to do now is wipe his head again and go back to the feet. So why does he have to wipe his head if the head is not incorrect?
Because he washed his hands and then went to his feet. So he never did wipe his head.
Oh, okay.
That's how he went out of order.
Okay.
You're welcome. Okay, mashallah. So, according to Abu Hanifa, who said the intention is sunnah, not obligatory, then if you just submerged yourself in water without an intention and came out, you can pray. That's the Hanafi school. If you went swimming or something like that, you stood under a waterfall, somebody pushed you in the pool or whatever. When you come out of all of that water, you can pray, according to Abu Hanifa. So in that way, then the wudu and ghusl for Abu Hanifa is similar to removing najasa, because you don't need an intention to remove najasa. What if there was a spot of najasa somewhere, let's say on your step or on your front door? So there was some najasa there. And then the rain came. And it rained and rained and rained, and you came back out, and then the najasa was gone. Would you consider that your door is still contaminated? No. You can say, Alhamdulillah, it's been purified by the rainfall. Would you say, but wait a minute, no one had an intention in removing this najasa. It should still be contaminated. No, because it doesn't need an intention, removing najasa. For Abu Hanifa, wudu and ghusl is like that. So just if the water came upon you, even if you didn't have an intention, you can pray. Question 95. And also, just one more. Also, in the Maliki school, rubbing is an integral. Rubbing is an integral. Question 95. What does intention when washing the face mean? Okay, my answer for that is, it means you make the intention in your heart at the time the water touches your face. It doesn't mean that you must not put water to your face without an intention. No, you can put water to your face without an intention. But your intention must occur while the water is hitting your face or upon your face. That's my answer. Like, you're in the shower, and then the water's coming on you, and you just picked your face up and you're letting the water hit your face without an intention. That's fine. And then at some moment, you intended wudu while you were still like that. Then your wudu will start because you had an intention while the water was coming upon your face. Here's the answer. It means that one intends in his heart while washing the first part of the face, the purification for the prayer. Yani, that's what he intends. What's in parentheses, in quotation marks. One may also make one of the other valid intentions, like lifting the minor ritual impurity. Yes. So, Yani, that's And that's addressed right here. Number 1 under question 94. The answer for question 94. To have the intention of purification for prayer in the heart or any equivalent intention when the water first touches the face. The answer for 95 was already there. What does intention, like if we want, we can read this question. What does intention when washing the face mean? Then we could take the answer from here. It means to have the intention of purification for prayer in the heart or any equivalent intention when the water first touches the face. And then I told you at that moment, an equivalent intention is like wudu. When the water touches your face and your heart, you said wudu. That's a valid intention. So that's 2. One valid intention is intention for purification for prayer. Another valid intention is wudu. That's 2. And a third valid intention is here. One may also make one of the other valid intentions, like lifting the minor ritual impurity, meaning when the water came upon one's face, he said, now I lift the minor impurity. That's valid. Or anything like that, such as, now I make wudu because I slept. That's a valid intention. Now I make wudu because I urinated. That's valid intention. Okay. If you have a question, go ahead. Question 96. Is it an obligation to make the water reach the inner part of the man's beard and his aridain in wudu? Good question. Why is this a good question? Because it's a question that requires details. Yani. Okay. Is it? So the answer, as if the answer is yes or no. I'm the one always telling you, well, if it's yes or no, then get your yes or your no. But it's not simple yes or no. Rather, it's a detailed case. So for me, the answer is it depends. Period. I'm going to stop talking right there. Probably. Or maybe. Yani, someone asks me a question as if the answer for the question is yes or no, while the yes or no depends on something. So I might say to him merely, it depends, without going further. Yani, why would I do that? It depends. It depends on who I'm talking to and what he's asking me. So then if he doesn't say more, then I might not say more. I'll leave it at that. Or if he wants to keep going, I'll say, what does it depend on, please? And I'll say, well, it depends on whether the beard is thick or not. There's 2 kinds of beards. There's a thick beard and there's a thin beard. They don't have the same judgment. For that reason, I'm not able to say for your question merely yes or no. I must say it depends. It depends on the thickness of the beard or the lack of thickness. Then, when we digress into both branches, then we can say the clear answer, yes or no. So if it's a thick beard, then the answer is no. And if it's a thin beard, then the answer is yes. Is it an obligation to make the water reach the inner part of the man's beard? If it's thick, then yes. No, sorry. If it's thick, then no. If it's thin, then yes. That's a way to answer. Instead of saying, it depends, you can just go ahead and give the details if you want. Okay, and here, al-aridain, what's that? That's jawbone hair. Jawbone hair. As opposed to sideburn, not sideburn here. So sideburn, that's the hair that grows next to the ear and goes down to the jaw. Aridain, the jawbone hair, that's the hair that actually grows on the jawbone. And lihya, the lihya, that's the hair that actually grows on the chin. So those are three different hairs there. Let me fix his jawbone though. Here's his jaw. So really, his sideburns going all the way down here. The sideburns go down to the jaw. They run alongside the ear and go down to the jaw. Then the jawbone hair runs along the jawbones. And then the chin hair is what grows on the chin. And yeah, we're not talking about a mustache here. His mustache. Okay. So the question is about this hair here. Yeah, I mean, here. The question is about this hair here. So, is it obligatory on a man to wash the inner part of his chin hair, that's his lihya, beard, and the inner part of his jawbone hair, the aridain? It depends. If it's thick, then no. If it's thin, then yes. So, the answer is it is not an obligation to wash the inner part of the man's thick beard and thick aridan, would say in the footnote here. This refers to the hair underneath the sideburns and growing above the jawbone and beard. Above? How about along? Along the jawbone. Along the jawbone. This is the hair that grows along the jawbone. And why it says and beard, just so I don't know. They're saying something I don't know. Maybe they're saying something, they're translating this from something and it's completely accurate. This is what I know here, what I just adjusted. The aridan refers to the hair underneath the sideburns, meaning starts where the sideburns stop. That's what underneath means here. Sideburns start up at your ear and go down the side of your face until getting to the jawbone. Then they end, and then that's when the aridan starts. From the jawbone, it goes down to the chin. It ends at the chin, and the lihya is on the chin. So that's why some men, they have lihya, they don't have aridan though. There would be a Muslim man, he has just lihya only, doesn't have more. Alhamdulillah. Okay. It says, so if the hair of the man's beard were thick, only the outer apparent hair would be washed without it being an obligation to wash the inner part of the beard and the jawbone hair. Ah. But if the growth were not thick, then it is obligatory to wash both the hair and the skin underneath it, underneath the hair. Yeah, I need to penetrate the hair and get down to the skin. Okay. If you have a question, go ahead. Now we are at the invalidators of ablution. Question, state the invalidators of wudu. Okay. So I would say to this command, there are four things. Anything that comes from the front or back passageways, except sperm for men and women. Touching the penis, anus, or vagina of a human with the inner hand. Touching the skin of a marriageable woman, for a man to touch the skin of a marriageable woman who reached a stage at which she is normally desired. And sleeping except with one's buttocks firmly planted. Sitting. Sleeping except sitting with one's buttocks firmly planted. Okay, that's my answer. Let's see what they have here. Should be close. Answer, wudu is invalidated by the emission, meaning the exiting, the coming out of anything from the eliminatory outlets. I said the two passageways, the front and back passageways, except male and female mani ejaculate, yani sperm, except male and female sperm. I got used to saying what the women have is sperm. I'm just going to say it like that. I think makes people understand. Okay. Let me keep reading first before I comment. Touching the penis, vagina, or anus of a human with the inner part of the bare hand, yes. For the man to touch without a barrier, so comma, the skin of an ajnabiyya, i.e., a marriageable female who attained an age, you don't need to here, who attained an age at which she is normally desired. In losing sanity or consciousness, I said sleeping. This is better. But not by sleeping for one whose buttocks is firmly seated. Yes. And this is lacking punctuation marks. End punctuation marks. Okay. That's clear. Let's back up, take a deeper look. It says here, the emission of anything from the eliminatory outlets. Okay. Emit. Maybe the word emission actually is too specific. Why say emission? Probably why it says we always said emission for always. Why? Because most of what comes out of there is something ejected, something that is ejected from there or like that, but doesn't have to be ejected. Like, really, here's the real rule. Any exiting of something except sperm. Any exiting of something except sperm. Any. So I'm nitpicking at the words a little bit. So, like what? For example, and this example I'm going to give you here is for the sake of understanding the rules of fiqh, of understanding fiqh. Understand the scenarios. For example, you know the earbuds, the Q-tips, like a stick that has cotton ball on the end. So if a man stuck something like this into his urethra, into his penis, he has wudu. A man with wudu inserted something like that into his penis or some other kind of rod. This will not break his wudu because that's an entrance. It's not entrance that breaks wudu. Like if it's a woman and she put something in there and she had wudu, that alone's not going to break her wudu. It's the exiting that breaks the wudu. So, for example, the man put this thing in there that I told you. Now it's there. And then if he just pulls it a little bit without even taking it out, just if he just pulls on it a little bit, so that comes out just a little bit, his wudu is broken. This example will make you understand the rule completely. This is the rule. Any exiting of something except sperm will break the wudu. Any question here?
Say,
Yes.
that's an examination. It doesn't, I know it may sound silly, but is that the same thing for the examination from my doctor that goes, man, getting his prostate, no, not prostate. I got the exam call. He sticked his tube up in the male's penis and he takes it out.
Yeah, once it comes out, breaks wudu.
Okay.
Even a little bit, doesn't have to come all the way out. Just pull it. Once he pulls it, it breaks his wudu. If pulling it makes it come out even just a little teeny bit, just a millimeter, for example, came out, his wudu is broken.
Got it. The word clarify for me. Exit. I got you.
Yes. Okay, so that's one thing there. Says here, touching the penis, vagina, or anus of a human. Whose wudu is broken by this touching? Who knows? Whose wudu is broken by this touching? 5.
Say it again, please.
Yes. This number 2 here, it says touching the penis, vagina, or anus of a human with the inner part of the bare hand. My question is, whose wudu is broken by this touching? Someone said one's own self.
Both.
Here's correct answer here. The person doing the touching, correct. This is the one only. Not the touched one. The touched one's wudu is not broken. The toucher, his wudu is broken. Okay. Next one says, for the man to touch without a barrier the skin of the ajnabiya, a marriageable female, who reached the stage at which she is normally desired. Okay, yeah, it's clear. It doesn't require desire or intention. Skin on skin, male and female, yani skin on skin of opposite genders, when they are marriageable, breaks the wudu according to Ash-Shafi'i. If both sides have reached a stage of desirability. But if one of those sides is too small, then wudu is not broken. Too small means didn't reach the stage of desirability. Too small includes 8 years old, 9 years old, for example. They use the word here age. I like to use the word stage. When you use the word age, then someone's going to say, how old is that? He expects for there to be a particular number. It's not a particular number. It's person by person. It's a stage of development. Once a person reached that stage of development, which is a stage where they are desirable to people of normal taste, then touching the skin of this one by the opposite gender will break the wudu. Okay. You can ask it if you want to. And number 4, losing sanity or consciousness, yes. Including sleeping, but not sleeping for one whose buttocks is firmly seated. Yes. That word seated is a good word, as opposed to planted. Someone might say if his buttocks is firmly planted, but firmly seated is better. Because the condition is that you are sitting, even if your butt is firmly planted. Yani. If you are not sitting, then your wudu will be broken when you sleep, even if your buttocks is firmly planted. So, for example, a person, he laid on his back and put his feet up the wall. So his feet pointing towards the ceiling. And his butt is firmly planted against the wall, but he's laying on his back. Or he's leaning on the wall, pressed up against the wall, but he's standing up. And he's pressed on the wall in such a way that his buttocks is firmly planted. Since in these 2 cases I just told you, the person is not sitting, then when he sleeps, once he falls asleep, his wudu will be broken. Okay, we need to stop here, inshallah. I got a lesson in 6 minutes.